Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, and I'm coming to you live via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio from beautiful Cape May, New Jersey. And I want to say hello to everyone in the Facey chat. Chris, Zardrell, Michael, please forgive me if I mess up your name. Ivy, hi. One of my cousins, one of my many beautiful cousins. Andy and Missy, hi, how are you? I hope you are all well. My guest today is radio host and author Paul Sutliff, and he's going to talk to us today about civilization jihad awareness. Very interesting topic. You know, counterterrorism costs the U.S. about $100 billion a year in counterterrorism efforts. So it's definitely something to be talked about. Hey, Michael Pearson. Hi, Chuck Minahan. How are you, darling? Good to see you guys. Did I say hi to you, Missy, yet? Oh, thank you, Missy. You're so kind. Thank you. Before we get to that, Robert Marshall, hey, was shaken. A few housekeeping items. First of all, I mentioned Twitter yesterday, and I don't know how this happened. And I said to you guys, it's like, hey, I only have like 600 Twitter followers. I think it was 700 something, whatever. I hadn't even broken 1,000 yet. And then I go on my, I don't know what you all did, but I go on my Twitter feed this morning. I have like 1,000 too. Al Ashworth, how are you, darling? A radio host in his own right. Al's one of my favorite. I've many. But just one of my favorites because his tagline is I might be wrong, but I don't think so. I just think that's hilarious. But anyway, it's like way better than oh gosh, what's my tagline? Oh, it's important because it's your money. It's like way better than that. I'm just saying it is. Anywho, welcome Al, welcome Doug. What's happening? So if you have not followed me on Twitter yet, I'd love for you to do so. It's at Money Talk Mel. If you really want to torture yourself, you can follow my personal Twitter page, which is at NJGOP Diva. I did not name myself that. Someone else did. But you know, the diva thing just kind of seems to stick since I was a child. I have no idea why. Anyway, so I wanted to say that if you haven't liked my Facebook page yet, my show page, there's additional exclusive content that I don't post on my personal page, which is where I'm streaming from now. That's on the show page, which is Money Talk with Melanie. So be sure to do that if you have not already liked the page. I want to do this before I get into the show too, and thank a couple of my sponsors, the Tax Mama, Eva Rosenberg. She'll answer your tax questions for free, first of all, at taxmama.com, but she also has some great new updates about the Trump tax plan on her website. I was actually on there today checking things out, and she really is an expert in all things taxes. She's your go-to chick for all things taxes, and a Money Talk with Melanie sponsor. And of course, Dave Barnett at businessbuyeradvantage.com. If you're ever thinking about buying or selling your business, you definitely want to go to his website and check out the information there first. He's got tons of fantastic information, instructional videos, and just great overall advice there at businessbuyeradvantage.com. So make sure that you totally check that out. I want to welcome Glenn and Blanchard and Sheldon and Mike. Hi, welcome. Let's see what else is going on. Tomorrow on the show, Chris Gaines, I believe, is in the chat, and he is also going to be tomorrow's guest. He is the editor-in-chief and founder of Patriot Gains, or patriotgains.com, I should say. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But what we're going to talk about is freedom through less government, and compassion through loving our neighbor, which I absolutely love, love, love. Hi, Lance Cooper, welcome. So I'm excited that I'm going to have Chris on tomorrow. And then Thursday, I have some kind of, Thursday I have a meeting. So that's going to be a re-air. Among the many, many things that I'm involved in, I'm involved in an organization, or I guess technically I'm a commissioner on the advisory board for the status of women in my county. It's one of the 1,000 things that I do. I have a meeting Thursday, so that's going to be a re-air. And then Friday, I have a Senate candidate from California. Don't make me lie to you about his name, but I'll definitely have it down. Have it by tomorrow. But I literally just booked that a few minutes ago. Hello, Ron Edwards. So good to see you. But our guest today is, I'm very excited too about this. Our guest today is Paul Sutliff. And like I said, he's a radio host and author. And we're going to talk about the civilization jihad awareness, which is really, he's written, I believe, 3 books on the topic, and we're going to go to a brief break. And when we get back, we are going to talk to him about that. Really a very important subject, not just financially, but in just a lot of ways, in which we're going to talk to him about that. Anywho, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
What if Mrs. Clinton had become president? Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, I shudder to think of how dismal our lives would be with a Mrs. Clinton administration. For starters, God-given rights that are recognized in the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights would be under an assault far greater than what occurred during the Obama regime. The deep state dwellers would be literally drowning out our exceptional nation way of life under a sea of regulations, some of which could be connected to a United Nations-inspired eradication of our national sovereignty. Robert Mueller, John Podesta, James Comey, and many others would be enjoying the prospect of totally getting away with the abuses of power they have been wielding, and there would be no effort whatsoever to drain the swamp. The cabal of leftist collaborators came within an inch of unleashing a level of misery that rivals fallen nations like Argentina and Venezuela. My fellow Americans, give thanks to God and arise to stand for our future, that of our children and children's children. God bless you. God bless America, and may America bless God. I'm Ron Edwards.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
I love the Tax Mama. If you guys have not picked that up. By the way, Ron Edwards' notebook, who you heard over the break, is just part of what Ron Edwards does, a page from the Ron Edwards notebook. He also has a show that is on right before mine called The Ron Edwards Experience right here on SHR Media at 4 p.m. every day. So you definitely want to check that out. He is fantastic. If you think the notebooks are fantastic, you should listen to his show. Just saying. All right. So without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about my guest, Paul Rutliff. He has did I say that wrong, Paul? Did I do that?
It's Sutliff.
Okay, cool. Paul's waiting patiently on hold, listening to me bloviate. But he has a BA in religion and philosophy from Roberts Wesleyan College, a master's from Nazareth College of Rochester, and is completing a postgraduate certificate in intelligence analysis. I'm very excited about that. Paul's an educator, a research writer, and radio talk show host, and he is only an awakened patriot to what is happening. He says he's only an awakened patriot to what is happening around him. He's first started to look into Muslim Brotherhood after college, after the college where he earned his master's took $500,000 from the International Institute of Islamic Thought. It took only a short bit of research to realize that the former Catholic college had opened its doors to an enemy of the United States. So that is completely insane. And he can be found on YouTube, where he places the interviews from his show, Civilization Jihad Awareness, on a Global Patriot radio network of blogtalkradio.com. And without further ado, Paul Rutliff, I'm so excited to have you on the show tonight.
It's Sutliff. Sutliff with an S.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I copied that. Okay, I'm just not reading well. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. It is. I'm not reading well. I got it.
It's amazing to find out there's such a thing as Civilization Jihad, and I had no knowledge of any of this until a friend of mine came to me and said, "Look, did you know Nazareth College took $500,000 from this group?" And I said, in the back of my mind, she only said it to me because she knew I went to Nazareth.
Wow.
Like in the back of my mind, I know this group, like I said, and I'm a well-known researcher in the area of education at this point. I had my name in books on every Barnes and Noble across the country at that point as a research writer and editor. And they say it to me, and I do a little bit of research, half-hour research. I write a note to the president of the college, and he doesn't write back. Now, I was also one of the leaders of Kappa Delta Pi, which is the International Honor Society for Educators at the college. And to refuse my phone call is extremely unusual. As a graduate assistant there, extremely unusual.
Right.
So, yeah. So I posted my letter to the president on a LinkedIn alumni site, and I was blacklisted.
What?
Yes.
What?
So I was blacklisted for asking questions. That's the exact reasoning they gave me.
What? Wait, they literally said for asking questions?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's stunning. Okay.
Yeah. So what it comes down to is I pointed out they were taking money from a group that was affiliated with they took money from the International Institute of Islamic Thought. Now, these are the same guys ABC went to get an interview with bin Laden back in the 1990s. So they went to ABC goes to Triple IT. This guy, Tariq Hamdi, says, "Oh, yeah, I can take you there." And he took him straight to bin Laden. That's the connections made with this organization. And so he took them straight to bin Laden. And while they're going to bin Laden, they dropped off this satellite phone battery pack that was used to communicate and during the bombings of two of our embassies, one in Kenya and one Kenya, I think Tanzania, I can't remember the other place. The two of our embassies were bombed as a result. And this is part of the federal record. It's fully recognized that this happened at this particular time. It's part of the federal documented by the FBI. And this is the kind of school, this school took money from this group. It gets even more shocking when you realize where this term civilization jihad came from. So I started researching this stuff. This is after the bombings. I mean, this is 2000. Oh my gosh, I started writing about 5-6 years ago, and so it's about 6-7 years ago that this happened. And I'm like, and I'm kind of shocked. what's going on here? When you tell a research writer to shut up, you don't want to hear it, you piss him off, and he does more research.
Of course. How could you not? How could you not do more research?
I did a ton more research, and I proposed, sharing my information with local people, and they're like, wow. And Ryan Morrow, I wrote a piece and published it online, and Ryan Morrow was just with Clarion Project back then, but became big with Fox News. He actually called me and said, you did really good, exposing this. He was very polite and gave me a lot of clues as to what I should be looking for. Encouraged me to write my first book, and that was Stealth Jihad State to Infiltrate American Colleges, and that provides an example of what's going on in our colleges. And this has been going on since the 1960s in America. In the early 1960s, I'm talking about mid-1960s, from 1964 on, it happened here. Or 63 on, it happened here. But before that, it was happening in Canada, because they all went to Canada first and then came here.
Certainly. And we know how well that's going.
It's still happening that way, a lot of it. But let me tell you where this term comes from. I'd be remiss if I don't get this in. This term civilization jihad comes from a paragraph in the explanatory memorandum, which was discovered thanks to a wonderful police officer just simply doing his job. What he was doing was he caught this woman basically taking pictures of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge support structure. Ismail Brace, her husband, of course, was driving the car, gives his ID to the officer, and he finds out the guy is wanted by the FBI for questioning. By the way, Ismail Brace is currently a fugitive, from my understanding.
Wow. Okay.
And so they went and there was causation to search his house. When they searched his house, they found a hidden, dug-out sub-basement under his basement with 93 bankers' boxes of materials and documents of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. And explanatory memorandum is just one of those, and it was used in the United States versus Holy Land Foundation trial, which was the largest terrorism finance trial in the United States history. So I'm just going to read you one paragraph from this, and you tell me if you want these people teaching your kids or having any role in government. This is what it says. Chapter 4. This is 4. Understanding the role of the Muslim Brotherhood in North America. It says that the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all of the word means. The Ikhwan, which means brotherhood, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands in the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to this challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. It is a Muslim's destiny to perform jihad and work wherever he is and wherever he lands until the final hour comes, and there is no escape from that destiny except for those who choose to slack. But would the slackers and the mujahideen be equal? This is from their document. They're the ones who created the term civilization jihad. Now, this is not what you would call your average terrorist. These are people who move into your neighborhood and do things quietly. What do? Again, they're acting against the United States. These are acts of sedition that they're talking about, which they could be arrested for. But we have to recognize that they have declared war, and I've actually proposed a resolution that I'm put before senators and congressmen and have not heard anything really back from. I'm trying to. All we have to do is recognize that the Muslim Brotherhood within North America, within the United States and Canada, has declared war on the United States. When we do that, we can start to arrest people for sedition and treason. And until we do that, we are in danger, because these people are currently in government, in colleges, all across the United States, and in every level of government. It's just mind-blowing when you start to create your own little research on this. And thank God that we have our current president, at least, is not a member. Our last president, according to an Egyptian newspaper, was part of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Terrific. Sigh. Okay. So I have to assume that our intelligence agencies are aware of this. What in your research, have you found anything in your research that would indicate why they have not taken that step so that we can begin to remove these people?
The number one reason why nothing is happening again is because the intelligence networks are at a standstill because the United States has not recognized them as an enemy. The Congress is the one that has to do that. A State Department declares groups terrorists, but what these people really are is they're actors. We're talking about a group within the United States that are actors.
Sure.
And we can't take what they're talking about as sorry. I'm trying to get the call to stop. Sorry, just a second.
It's okay.
Sometimes things are just I didn't expect a call. So what happened is I lost my train of thought. What we need to do, the federal government needs to do, is recognize that that the North American Muslim Brotherhood entity is in itself an enemy of the United States. Until they do that, we are in danger.
And
because they're talking that Ted Cruz wrote something to try and get the Muslim Brotherhood declared a terrorist entity.
I remember that.
And, the issue is the difference of the definition of terrorism really does not allow the Muslim Brotherhood to be declared a terrorist entity because they're generally not committing acts of violence. And this is the difference.
Okay.
If you're not committing a physical act of violence, they generally do not consider you guilty of terrorism. And that's where we run into difficulties. Unless we change the definition of terrorism, the FBI can't do its job.
Wow.
The CIA can't do its job. And so we just simply need to recognize they need to be declared enemies of the United States by recognizing they have declared war on us. That's all we have to do. We don't have to declare war on them. We just have to recognize they have declared war on us.
Well,
that's it.
I thought that was crystal clear years ago that they declared war on us. But what I hear you saying is that this has not happened in a legal way, as far as our country's official stand on that.
Right. The federal government has not recognized in any legal way that the Muslim Brotherhood declared war on us. In fact, as a declared enemy. The document, by the way, was written in 1991 that I read. So we're talking about, 1991 is the earliest document that we have that has a declared war. This year, the Muslim Brotherhood, in fact, after President Trump made a statement about Jerusalem and the embassy, the Muslim Brotherhood declared us their enemy. Again, publicly they did this. So this is another reason for them to be declared an enemy of the United States. That's what we have to do. We don't have very many brave congressmen and senators who are willing to stand up and say, we just need to recognize declare them an enemy of the United States. That's all we have to do.
Right.
To allow the federal government to do what it needs to do. Well, now, here's what would happen.
Good.
You want to talk about money?
Yes.
We're talking about, most of the financing of mosques comes from one central location in the United States. It's called the North American Islamic Trust. To close that, probably about 86% of mosques at the least may be closed.
Okay, and so
that's a lot of money.
Are there constitutional issues with closing down that entity? Or would it be a situation?
No, because this is part of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is a declared enemy of the United States.
So they should be able to shut it down tomorrow if they wanted to.
If they declare the Muslim Brotherhood an enemy of the United States, yes.
That's
now the problem becomes when you close NATE, you have to have all the information. Now, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is part of this, has actually issued out statements, and the larger group has issued out statements telling people that they're members of the Muslim Brotherhood to be wary, to set up video observation of their front doors because they believe they're going to be raided by the federal government. So that's all because they believe they are going to be targeted, which they should be, for a raid because they are seditious, basically seditious bastards.
Okay, then.
And the treasonous, we can say treasonous, but again, without an act of violence, this is where it gets into difficulty. Yes, they are treasonous, they are seditious. We can prove sedition. We might not be able to prove treason. That's difficulty. Sedition's easy to prove.
Sure it is. Sure it is. Now, what interest, and I'm going to assume you have the answer to this, what interest might Congress have in not declaring them seditionists? Or like, why would they not do that?
The Muslim Brotherhood has made very good friends with many Democrats. And many Democrats do a lot of fundraising and get money from entities of the Muslim Brotherhood, such as CARE. There are numerous Democrats that receive funding from them. Until they stop getting the funding, CARE is willing to make friends with the Democrats because they figure they're easy to kill off because they don't have guns of their own.
Wow.
And that's what it comes down to.
I mean, it's a great point.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah, they make friends. The enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing. That's what they're doing with the Democrats. Because, you have to they're actually making friends with people who support gay marriage and all these type of things that will go against their essential belief structure.
Of course,
and the whole purpose is they're easier to target and get rid of.
Wow. Well, and see that, I mean, I say this all the time. The easiest way to hide a truth is between a lie is between two truths. That is the way you do that, and that's a perfect example of that. Now, one of the things that you say, and one of I read when I was looking through one of your books, I believe, is that basically there's no such thing as a moderate Muslim, and I've heard people say that before, and I'm a card-carrying conservative, but I'm on the fence.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that as conservative as I am, I find myself on the fence with that. So I'd love for you to be able to elaborate on, and I can't be the only one.
Well, the fun part is I've talked with numerous Muslims, and I've yet to meet one Muslim who agrees that there is such a thing as moderate Islam.
Really?
I've not met one Muslim who agrees with that. The only ones I've met that would say that are not true Muslims. And what I mean by that is they do not follow the Quran. They do not follow Hadith. They do not follow the Sirah. They do not follow them. They do not. What they do is they pick and choose. Now, there's a difference between the people who would be called moderate Muslims today are those who are Muslim by birth only and do not practice Islam at all.
It kind of like
in Islam, you're just born. It's not a choice of faith.
Okay.
And Islam is more of a political entity than it is a religion. That's another thing to understand why we're saying this. Once you start to practice the religion, I mean, in every sense of the word, you're agreeing to certain things. I mean, one of the doctrines that's hidden in Islam is actually jihad. It's a doctrine in Islam. It's considered the fifth pillar of Islam. And this is where you'll hear terrorists talk about you don't follow all the pillars. And, sorry, sixth pillar, I should be saying sixth pillar. Forgive me. Sixth pillar of Islam. And they'll say that. Terrorists will come out and say that. Why aren't you following all of this? And here's a book I tell people to pick up. It's by Muslims. It's written for Muslims. It's called Reliance of the Traveler. Basically, it is Sharia, which is Islamic law written for Muslims in English. And pick this book up. It will blow your mind. It'll scare you. It'll freak you out, and you'll be like, you can't be. Now, this book has the approval of people in Saudi Arabia, very huge stamps of approval by translators, including the International Institute of Islamic Thought, the first group we talked about tonight. And in there, just to tell you the penalty for killing a non-Muslim, there is none.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, we're up against the break, which is going to be at 5:40, which is less than a minute. When we get to the other side, I had a question in the chat, and I'm so glad that I decided to copy it because I was afraid I was going to lose the question, and I did. Wanted to know your thoughts on Mohammed Tahiti. So when we get on the other side of the break, I'd love for you to expound on that and tell us a little bit about
Mohammed who?
Mohammed Tahiti, T-H-I, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, T-A-H-I-D-I. Does that name sound familiar to you?
T-H-I-D-I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'll take a look real quick. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. We're up against the break, and we'll be back in a couple of moments.
Welcome to this week's Money Talk Minute with your business diva, Melanie Collette. While companies are feeling generous due to the Trump tax cuts, this week is a great time to talk about ways to bump up your income. First, when getting a new job and negotiating your salary, get the company to name the figure initially. If you give away your current pay from the door, you won't know if you're aiming too high or selling yourself short. Getting a potential employer to name the figure first will likely get you more money. Second, negotiate for benefits. Companies will negotiate things like work hours, your official title, vacation time, how much leave you get, even the projects you'll work on. Last, discuss your salary in terms of company needs instead of your wants. Your employer wants to keep a good employee, so if you're negotiating for a raise, focus on the value that you bring to the company. That's all for this week's Money Talk Minute. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. Remember to listen to Money Talk with Melanie, which airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East and 2 p.m. West on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and obstacles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth, not always pleasant.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Okay, we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. And my guest today is Paul Sutliff. If I could just like read what's on the page, that would be awesome. Paul Sutliff, who is a radio host and an author, and he's talking to us today about civilization jihad awareness. And before we left you, Greg Wilson in the chat, by the way, also responsible for the music for my new open and an accompanying video, just saying. And thank you for that, Greg. You rock. From Three Craters Symposium is Greg Wilson is from. But anyhow, he asked a question in the chat about Mohammed Tawhidi. Does that name sound familiar, Paul?
I haven't seen anything on this person. I'm not familiar with them.
Okay.
And I just tried to do a search, and I can't use Facebook where I'm at currently.
Okay.
So other than that,
No, that's okay.
That's the only place I found the person any mention of the person.
Gotcha.
Other than that, I generally the issue is this: we have to understand there's a hidden doctrine within Islam that refers to lying to non-Muslims, and because there's also a doctrine within Islam that you're not to take the Christians or Jews as your friends. That is actual Islamic doctrine. It is actually in the Quran, and it is in the Hadith, and it is the Sirah, and it is in Islamic law as well. Now, the reason for that is they do not trust us, and they think that our faith is corrupt. Now, this is where it comes down to. They actually will lie to us using one of the 5 different words they have for lying. One of them is taqiya, for the reasoning, and to protect themselves. Does that mean that if they fear death? Well, it's simple as this. There's a Dr. Shafiq, who is one of the college professors at Nazareth, who would say, we have this standing arrangement, and he generally lies. So this is what I would do. We've done this 3 times now. He comes out and he says, I ask him, what does Islam mean? He says, peace. I said, okay, stop lying. Please tell everybody what it means in Arabic. He says, submission.
Wow.
So you were lying to me before. You were lying to everybody. Does that mean if I don't submit, you're willing to kill me? I mean, is that what you're doing? Because you lied to us already. And this is a college professor. He's somehow be allowed to continue his employ. I mean, he's now retired, but they let him continue in these lies as a professor, which blew my mind.
Wait a minute.
At one time, he said it meant shalom, and I just lost it because I studied Hebrew, and I've never been more angry at somebody than that. And yeah, so this is a constant thing. Now, the deceit that comes out. You notice the first thing after a terror attack, CARE comes out, we're the victims. Well, why are they doing that? To change the story, to make themselves not guilty. Do they need to do that? I mean, this is what it comes down to. They come out playing the victim. We're going to be attacked. Why are you saying this? I mean, why? Because are you in agreement with them that you think you need to be attacked? I think these are questions that need to be asked. Why are you putting up these things? That's a constant ploy by the Muslim Brotherhood members. It's a constant thing. There was a thing in Toronto, in Canada, where a girl, 11-year-old girl, pretended, made a false claim to the police that she had someone come up and cut her hijab. It was a hoax. Now, understand, I have a friend who wants to call her running with scissors for the rest of her life because supposedly someone came and cut her hijab, ran away, then came back and cut her hijab again and ran away. So running with scissors is what he would like to call her.
Yeah.
But who put her up to this kind of thing? And again, it's making themselves the victim. What's going on here? They're trying to hide the story that's supposed to, this Monday, the reason this came out was they're trying to hide the story that a report on M103 in Canada, which would declare Islam a special faith and everybody else a lesser faith, which means that all people could be charged with a hate crime simply for what they think. A Muslim could point to you and say, they think hate, and you could possibly be arrested under this Islamophobia law. And there was an actual report that was due January 29th, and from my understanding, did not get submitted on this particular issue. I was in Toronto on Saturday speaking on this. So, this is a very, very important issue.
That's ridiculous. Now, you talked a little bit about how that's in how they're infiltrating the colleges. How about public schools? Because I just feel like Yeah, I don't know. Like, not that college kids are you know,
You're exactly
all
right.
that.
I just received a letter from an administrator of my school district talking about World Hijab Day, and there's going to be several volunteers for this. Now, again, people are forced to wear these hijabs. I've actually seen a girl come into my class after my students told her father beat her because she took off her hijab before. I mean, this is on the bus. Father came on and beat her on the bus and beat her because she took off her hijab. And
wow.
I mean, so there are many women who they'll say they choose to wear this. Well, if you're choosing to wear it at 30, will you allow a girl to have a choice at 5 or 6? Now, again, the purpose of the hijab is to protect you from being sexually molested by members of the Islamic faith. That is the purpose.
Not by people who are not. I don't okay. I actually. Wow. I mean, that's mind blowing. It's mind blowing, and what a paradox it is, because you would think that if they're all Muslims, then why would you ever have to worry about that? Right? Because,
what's that again, please?
I mean, if they're all Muslims, you would think, why would they ever have to worry about being molested by other people of the Muslim faith? Because they're supposed to be all about not doing.
Well, again, in Islamic faith, the Islamic culture is a rape culture, and that is solely because it takes a woman cannot press a charge against a man unless she has 3 other women with her to make the charge.
Right, I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
Or one man in her. Okay, and that's not going to happen. It's a rape culture, and it's just that's how they differentiate. So if you're wearing the hijab, you're a Muslim and you should not be raped. But if you're not wearing it, you should be raped and this is why the sex assaults in Germany and all these places where Islam is coming into and taking over with it is what the term we call Islamization. I was on a trip to Europe last year on a fact-finding expedition on the Islamization of Europe, and that was enlightening. I went with Daniel Pipes and Ronnie and Wexler and several other people. It was like 30 of us all together. It was great. And yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's just mind-numbing.
Now, when I was hosting and I was guest hosting another show, and I can't remember who the guest was, but it was an intelligence agent that talked about similar things that you were talking about. And one of the things that he brought up, you know, one of the reasons we should be able to charge them with sedition is that in their schools, they are teaching hate. Have you heard anything?
Yes.
Along those lines?
I don't have I have some textbooks that they used to teach in their school, and they teach what jihad is. In fact, there's records in the United Kingdom right now where they're coming up, and they have not necessarily illegal schools, but they have schools that haven't necessarily registered that they're following, and they're finding many of the schools are teaching hate and they're teaching jihad, and which is, and again, teaching what jihad really is teaching people you jihad against non-Muslims. That's you commit acts of violence. There are 3 levels of jihad, which most people don't know. 3 levels of jihad. The first level is heart jihad. At the bare minimum, this came out in a fatwa in 1917, somewhere back there. I gotta back and think. Sorry, 1914. I have to go back and look. Fatwa, 1915. But 1915 fatwa. And this is the last caliph who wrote this. And he said there's 3 levels. One is heart jihad. You must feel jihad in your heart against non-Muslims. The second word is the second level of jihad is the word jihad, where you can act and do all these things to promote Islam, and you can lie to promote Islam, and that is only if you're not in a place where there's enough Muslims to create jihad. And then the third level is action jihad, where you're actually committing these things that we call terrorism today. This is why I would rather charge these people with treason, not terrorism. They should be charged with treason because they're going against the United States when in these actions. They're taking actions against our government and doing these things. Yes, they're murdering people. These are acts of treason.
Wow.
Okay, We should never arrest anybody for terrorism. We should simply arrest them for treason and let them have their penalty, which is, basically, I don't know if it's still the firing range, but I'm okay with that one.
Well, listen, in your book, you also say that they have solidarity with apologists. And I think any card-carrying conservative probably understands that. But for those who are not or don't know what you're talking about, what do you mean? Expound on that a little bit.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
It's in your book.
I don't remember saying anything like that.
It says that in your book, Solidarity with Apologists. I'm looking at your book, and I did.
Okay,
yeah.
If you could read me the quote, I could probably think about it.
And
it's been a while.
It says, following the launch of the campus watch in September 18, 2002, the site received about 200 emails. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is the college professors, in this case, they promote. They all have a belief. In this case, all these professors signed a statement saying they would support Hamas, and they are basically apologizing for Hamas's actions. They're justifying Hamas's actions, and we consider them a terrorist entity. So all of these professors who would publicly make a statement saying they approve a federally recognized terror group are listed in that last appendix piece there. That's what that is.
Wow.
And there's not a small amount, is there? There's not a couple hundred listed there.
Yes, that's ridiculous.
Bubba, this is the thing that kills me. They actually requested their names be listed with Campus Watch for this. And that's the insane thing. Now, Campus Watch is part of the Middle East Forum. It's an incredibly good organization. People have money, toss it there, great.
Right.
Campus Watch does a lot of good work.
Right, indeed. I've heard of them. Well, listen, we're about to close the show. Where can people find you have some other books as well, not just the one that we discussed.
You can find my, if you want to get a hold of my book, Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam, currently you have to go to my blog spot, which is Paul Sutliff, Paul, S as in Sam, UTLIFF, as FF as in Frank, .blogspot.com, and go down to an end of almost any article, and you can find a place to order my book there, Civilization Jihad. The rest of them can be ordered. I have Stealth Jihad Phase 2, Infiltrate American Colleges on Amazon, and I have what social studies teachers need to know about Islam, Volume 1 out, and I'm hoping I'll be working on Volume 2 after I finish my last class in this intelligence analysis certification I'm working on.
I hear you.
I'm about to put a new site out. It should be up this week. It's going to be paulsutliff.com. If you're interested in having me come speak to your group, there'll be a way for you to do that there as well. Oh,
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. Extraordinarily informative. Thank you so much.
God bless.
I appreciate it. Have a great night. I want to thank everybody for listening. All of you out there at SHR Media and High Plains Fun and Talk Radio Land, thank you so much for listening today. All you guys in Facey Land, thank you so much for watching and listening. I do appreciate it. All you guys that follow me on social media, you rock. I don't know how that happened, but I appreciate it. I think Doug in the chat had something to do with that. Call it a feeling, call it women's intuition. I don't know, but I thank you. And remember that all of this is very important because after all, it is your money. Have a great night.